Valley, hooey Hollywood, where any office boy or young mechanic.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of That Movie Show. Mike Wendt and Eddie McCabe taking you through another week of movie talk. Eddie, we're still quarantined, which means we're still doing the action movie quarantine. How are you doing this week?
Oh, you know what? Time means nothing, and life is fleeting. And it's still a good day for movies. Even this piece of garbage.
Life is a window, something is a door, I'll be back, Vigo the Carpathian.
Yes, close enough. Close enough.
Hell is a door, life is a window, I'll be back.
Yeah. You know, I'm going to take a long walk off a short pier and just hang out in water or something. I don't know.
Make like a tree and get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I'm just like, we were talking about this right before we started recording, but our friends over at a couple of park hoppers, Bill and Danny, Disney World has basically opened up, and they have a bunch of rules. And go listen to their show because they explain it and they talk about all the the safety protocols and all that fun stuff. But
if you want to smile during these hard times, please go follow a couple of park hoppers, especially on Facebook. Like, that's been literally my week. Since Disney started opening, I've been pouring my cup of coffee here on Cape Cod, turning on their Facebook, and just watching them be at Disney World. And it's literally been the happiest thing I've done in 4 months.
Yeah, because everything else is awful. Everything else is awful.
I don't know if you know it, but the world kind of sucks right now.
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of like weird odds and ends nonsense. I recorded the first episode of the official Evenings with Eddie podcast. And so like, I've been trying to keep myself busy along with doing this show and, just all that stuff. But it's like, there's only so much, like I started watching Parks and Rec for the first time.
Wow. You've definitely hit a motivation wall.
Yeah, because like I've tried to watch Parks and Rec 3 times. This is, I believe, the 4th time that I have started to watch Parks and Rec, and it finally like took. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just because it's just like, I think I've watched everything on Disney Plus. Yeah. By the way, shout out to like, there's this dog show that's hosted by the guy that does the voice of Goofy. and all he does is go to like jobs that use dogs. Mm-hmm. And so like, one of the dogs, he goes to like this sheep herding ranch, and they're like, how do you train the dogs to sheep herd? And they like show you how they did that. And then there was another one where it's like, I'm an emotional support dog at a dentist. And he's just like, he comes like and stands by the chair and you get to pet him while you get your teeth cleaned. And then
that sounds nice, but I have so many issues with just that alone. It's like, come on.
Oh, yeah.
What if we turned into that's actually a thing? Like, it's cute for the Disney Plus show, whatever you're watching, but,
yeah, but the fact that
when you boil it down into a real brain type of thing, it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, it's weird because it's like there's that, and then there's like this dog that works with marine biologists, and this dog gets on a boat and sniffs out whale shit. And
see, that actually seems like it has an actual tangible reason for the dog being there. Not just, I need support while my teeth are cleaned. I need to pet an animal. It's like, you know what my support is at the dentist? Gas.
Yeah, right. Just give me laughing gas. Who cares?
Give me the gas. Knock me out. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. So it was just like, so there's, like I said, there's stupid things like, the dentist support dog. But then there's also like, hi, I'm a marine biologist. Or this, there was this other dog that lives at the zoo. And he helps train cheetahs.
Okay.
So like the idea is, so basically the cheetah is, I think, supposed to get rehabilitated and then like put back in the wild. So instead of having this cheetah cub have human interaction the entire time, they give it to like this dog that can like bridge the gap between people and the cheetah. And so it was interesting. Yeah, like I said, I've watched literally everything, and now I've circled back around to Parks and Rec, and it finally took. And it's just like, oh, that's the world's ending.
I have, honestly, I don't think I've ever watched it. I might have seen parts of an episode if I was like DVRing something and it caught the beginning of it. I might have sat there for 5 minutes, but I've never willingly sat down and actually watched Parks and Rec. Not for any other reason than I just didn't. You know, it's not like I'm like, I don't like any of the because I like the actors. It's like, I didn't like. I think it was one of those things that it was like, because it was kind of supposed to be a spinoff of The Office, right? At least I remember when it originally started.
Spiritual sequel, because like it's the same sort of style.
And at that point, The Office had been going on for like 87 years, and I'm like, it was almost one of those things like it's like Fear the Walking Dead basically. Like I was watching The Walking Dead, and they're pushing I think 9 or 10 seasons now.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then they're like, oh, we have our spinoff show. It's like, no. I've given you a decade. I'm not investing into this new show. But even if it's great, even if it's wonderful, it's like that's going to be the next 10 years of my life. I just can't do it. Give me some short, like that's why I love some of the British comedies, like the original Office. It's like 2 seasons, done. We're never coming back.
That's the thing about British TV that I really love is that
Fawlty Towers is one of the greatest shows ever. It's 12 20-minute episodes.
Spaced is like, you know, so the Sherlock. Like there's Sherlock Holmes.
Sure, some of them get a little lengthy. Sherlock. Oh no, not Sherlock. I was thinking Doctor Who. Sorry.
Yeah.
Doctor Who's been on for 87 years. But.
Yeah, Doctor Who's been really long. But even Doctor Who, like when they replace the actors at this point, they like
it kind of changes the whole formula, right?
Yeah, they tell the whole story with this one doctor, and that's the entirety. Like it's not just this weird thing that just kind of keeps going and going. But yeah, it's been interesting because American TV just isn't like that. It's like we're gonna milk this show even after like the main character leaves. It's just like how is The Walking Dead still going on if Rick's gone?
I don't honestly. I think I'm 2 seasons behind.
Yeah,
it was like enough. Like I literally I had physically had enough with the show, and I've wrote a couple times on Facebook. I'm like, should I go back? Is it any good? Are they doing anything? And the responses have been lukewarm at best. It's like, it's kind of like, yeah, I'm still chugging through it, and I did that. I've hate watched a lot of shows. Nip Tuck is one of my famous hate watches, where it's like first season amazing. It was amazing television, and Ryan Murphy is kind of he did. Well,
that's his thing,
and that's his thing. One amazing season.
Yeah.
But then now of course, anthologies are the craze, so he's able to do that. But with Nip Tuck, it was like 8 fucking seasons, and it's the more bonkers it got, the less I'm like, I don't care anymore. I don't care.
Well, that's
You're making a dog man person. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, just wrap it up.
That's exactly my biggest problem with him, because it's like the first season of Nip Tuck, awesome. First season of Glee, awesome.
Yeah.
You know, and then he throws so much shit into his seasons that it's like, you're not actually telling me one story. You're telling me 15 stories because you're telling me an entire show's worth of nonsense in one season. So it's like, and then this thing the crazy thing happens, and then this crazy thing happens, and then this crazy thing happens.
He's kind of like, and I think it's only on my brain because there was a bunch of announcements about baseball and Fenway and all that stuff today that we're not going to get into, but he's basically like the best relief pitcher ever. He comes out for like half an inning, throws 150-mile-an-hour fastballs, and he's done. But it's like, here.
Yeah.
You know, he's not the guy that can pitch for 9 straight innings. Well, he comes in for half an inning, knocks him down, and it's done. But then it's like, oh shit, we need to go like 40 more episodes.
Yeah. And that's why the American Horror Story is so good.
Right.
Because he's able to just throw all of that crazy nonsense into one season, and then we're done. I'm not pigeonholed by these characters anymore. Because he's a great idea man. But it was just like, I even tuned out at season 2 because of American Horror Story, because it was just too much.
Season 2 was hard for me too, because I never watched them, and it was like maybe it was whenever the last season started. Was it Coven or something like that, or probably
I think it was Apocalypse was the last.
The one they were in the bunker, basically.
Yeah,
that one. So that was starting, and I'm like, all right, I'll finally give this, because the preview looked great. Oh, last season was actually
1984.
It had like the Friday 13th type of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm like, all right, I'll give it a look. I've never watched them. I like horror movies. I'll give it a look. And season 2 was like, I'm like, what is happening? Well, I'm kind of done.
I was just watching it, and I'm like, okay, so it's taking place in 2 separate time periods. Yeah. So that already is just ridiculous. There's a serial killer that's on the loose outside the prison that's timed between both the past and the present. There's alien abductions. There's an evil Nurse Ratched nun. There's another nun that's possessed by the devil. And then there's a Nazi priest. Oh, and there's a reporter who got admitted even though she shouldn't be there because she's gay.
How high are they when they come up with this shit?
And there was zombies, zombies in the yard because the Nazi doctor was experimenting on people and created like zombies that was just and it's just like, oh my God. Oh my God. There are too many things.
I don't know how we got on this topic.
We were just talking about how we've watched everything.
We've watched everything. But it's and the funny thing is, because you mentioned the American TV is like that, and generally it is, but it's very much in the sitcom realm where they start like milking and dragging things out and all that stuff. But it's like there can be shows that can go on for, numbers of seasons. To me, it's always important that the person creating the show have an end vision.
Correct.
And I always look to two shows, mostly because they share the same writer, The Shield and Sons of Anarchy.
Yes.
Kurt Sutter was creator of Sons of Anarchy, and he was a writer on The Shield, and both had the end game. And he even said, like, he came out when I remember it specifically with Sons of Anarchy. It came out around like season 5 or 6. And he said, and he's like, FX wants to renew us for 10 more years. And I'm like, I got 7 seasons done. We're out.
Yeah.
Of course, they spun off and did Mayans, but
right. Which Mayans is pretty good. I haven't watched all of it, but
it's not bad. They definitely use the fact that they can say fuck on FX a lot.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones that they're not really creative with it. It's like all of a sudden, I think it was around the O.J. Simpson show that FX did, American Crime Story, where they were like, okay, because for a while FX was like, it was like HBO, but they did have a few restrictions. Like you couldn't say fuck, you couldn't say cunt, and you couldn't show frontal nudity. And then it was like, say whatever you want.
Yeah,
it was
really
around
weird.
then. And it's like some shows, like Always Sunny in Philadelphia, is really good because they pepper in one fuck per episode, and it's really a punctuation. And when it comes up, it's like, well done, guys, you snuck that one in there.
Yeah.
But it's like then you got Mayans where it's like every third word.
Right.
And it's like I get it, we can say fuck, but it's like.
It caught me off guard when that started happening because it didn't really happen with Sons of Anarchy.
No, it was after that. It was. I remember specifically. It was on the OJ show, and it was the Marcia Clark character, and I remember specifically because I watch all the FX shows, and it's like she was sitting out. She just got off a phone call, and it was like right at the end of the episode, and she just goes motherfucker, and I remember going. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
This is like, it took me aback because the first time you hear it on a certain network, it's like on HBO, I wouldn't even blink twice.
Yeah, not at all.
But it's like, this hasn't been said here. It was kind of like with Breaking Bad when they allowed Hank at the end. He goes, my name is A. Shaq Schrader and you can go fuck yourself. And they actually let it happen on TV. And I'm like, oh, good for them. It's because it's picking and choosing. Comedy Central's done it a bunch too, especially with South Park. But with those, it's like it's picking and choosing, whereas FX seemed to be like, all right, we kind of leaked the faucet a little bit. Now it's just like, let's just open up the dam.
Yeah, right. So it'll be, it's interesting, but that's the best part about TV. Like the best TV shows have an ending. You brought up Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad had an end game. Yeah. This is going to be the end of the show. And I haven't watched it, so I can't totally speak to it, but The Office, right? It's just like Steve Carell left, and it felt like that show just floundered for years because it was just like, well, the main character left. So what are we?
And again, that comes again from just a show. It makes money, and I get it. This is a business. This is the show business, so you want to make money. But it's one of those things like it spun off of the UK Office, and they had, like I said, two seasons. And it's funny because there was in the later years, Ricky Gervais was doing a lot of interviews for it. Obviously, he was still an executive producer, et cetera, et cetera. And he's like, yeah, I don't really know what they're doing, but my check comes in every month, so yay.
Yeah, right.
Like I just bought a boat.
Yeah.
So you guys keep doing what you're doing. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it. All right, bye.
I have nothing to do with it. I'm over here making actual comedy.
Yeah, right. I'm making fun of people and making real comedy.
All right, so weird side tangent, but let's get into the show.
Yeah.
So we have our 30-day film challenge we've been doing. This is now day 3. and I don't have it in front of me. What was it again?
Yeah, it was a movie that you like with more than 5 words in the title.
Okay, what do you got?
So mine was Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back.
You're cheating.
I kind of am cheating, but technically it's correct. Star Wars.
No, The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah,
You don't get to tackle. You don't get to George Lucas this after the fact.
I do. I did. It's my list, and I did it.
Fair enough.
So I absolutely love this movie. I mean, it is the best Star Wars movie. It's one of the most iconic film moments in history with I Am Your Father, as well as I watched this on my copy of the VHS so many times that I broke it. Like, it would get to the part where Luke had come to Cloud City and Boba Fett shoots at him and he shoots back, and then the tape would stop and it would rewind. And no matter what I did, no matter what happened, even if I tried to like fast forward it to like get past that point, it would just stop at that point and it would rewind the movie like I had hit the end of the reel. And so, yeah, that's how many times I had watched that movie. It's so good.
The original Star Wars trilogy, I as someone who owns a lot of movies and has owned a lot of movies in various formats, I can say the Star Wars trilogy is probably the one I've rebought the most.
Yeah.
The original Halloween is pretty close, but I think Star Wars, because I bought it so many times on VHS, just, the original trilogy on VHS. Then it was the original trilogy, like I'm talking original meaning theatrical, with the THX sound version.
Okay.
And I can vision the actual box art and stuff like that. And when that one came out, it was kind of like goldish and shit. And then the special editions came out, and you had to get the special editions in widescreen. And then they had the clamshell version, and I had it on laser discs, and then I had it on DVDs. But it was tough to get the originals on DVDs. And then they had they released the originals on DVD in a special tin, so you had to rebuy that shit. But it also came with another version of that, and then you get it on Blu-ray, and it's like, I haven't upgraded to 4K yet, only because I don't have a 4K TV or player. But it's
only a matter of time.
It's only, I mean, Disney's got to make their money. Fox made theirs for umpteen years. We're re-releasing these every single fucking year. Oh, it's the 42nd anniversary. Yay!
Yeah. Didn't we just celebrate the 41st? Also, why are we celebrating the 42nd? I don't know.
With 15 seconds of new interview footage. What? Why am I buying this movie again?
Right.
Because I'm an addict, and that's what I do.
Yeah.
Mine was Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. See, I didn't cheat.
Yeah, I did.
And I didn't even go with like a Borat with whatever the Kazakhstan learning thing or Birdman. I don't count that one either because nobody knows the actual words underneath Birdman. But Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. I mean, it was one. I just was having a conversation in one of the Facebook groups about like movie spoofs and stuff like that, and someone was like, nobody's done a good one since like Mel Brooks or something like that. And I brought these up. And I'm like, the original Wayans ones, the original Wayans brothers ones, I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker, and the first two Scary movies were like really, really well done. And they really hit the mark on what they were trying to be. Now, granted, the Scary movies made a shit ton of money, and then it opened up the floodgates for all of these types of movies. They stopped doing them. The Wayans brothers just stopped being associated with.
Yeah, because they
moved on to White Chicks and Little Man and all the other, Marlon and Sean movies, basically.
Right. They did come back for, I think it was like Love movie or something. They came back for one of them, and it was really bad. But they stopped after Scary Movie 2.
Yep.
And it got picked up, and that franchise went so downhill so quickly.
Well, the fucked up thing about it is the people that picked it up. Like, it's surprising when you hear it's the Zuckers who did Naked Gun. How did that fail?
Well, the crazy part is that they didn't have. So it definitely felt like it when you know that and you realize it and you watch Scary Movie 3, you're like, oh yeah, this is a Naked Gun movie, but the first two films have a different tone to them.
Right.
And so when you're expecting that tone, it's weird when you get Airplane.
Yeah.
You know, like It's weird when you get Airplane, and it's not that, because if you watch 3 by itself, it's not terrible. Like it's not it's
definitely not Scary Movie 5.
Yeah, it's definitely not Scary Movie 4 or 5. Like those are garbage movies.
Charlie Sheen went through 3 wives during the filming of these movies.
Yeah,
let's put it that way, and they were all in it.
Yeah, it's true. Ugh.
Like I think we actually watched his divorce to Denise Richards happen on screen.
Maybe we did.
But yeah, because he took over basically the lead. It was him, and was Lindsay Lohan a main character in those, or was she just a side piece in that? Yeah,
I think she just popped in for one movie.
But he definitely was like the guy for those movies. Which, and again, he's one of those actors that his personal life has completely overshadowed his professional life, because people forget that that's kind of his bread and butter. He was Hot Shots.
Yes,
like he was the spoof guy. You know, I mean, he was also a real actor. He did stuff like Wall Street and shit, but he did Hot Shots. You know, like that was what he was doing. And now, but then it became like you weren't casting Charlie Sheen the actor; you were casting Charlie Sheen the basket case, basically. Yeah, it's true. Especially when they were coming out, because that was like, I think he was 2.5 Men at that point.
Had to have been.
I mean, he was definitely Hookers and Blow at that point, but that's been forever with him.
Yeah. I feel like
it's just he stopped kind of like he was coming out about it more. It's just like I don't care.
Yeah, I'm doing Hookers, Blow, and 2.5 Men.
He hadn't quite hit Tiger Blood yet.
When you put it that way.
What's that?
I said that sounds weird when you put it that way.
Yes.
I'm doing Hookers, Blow, and 2.5 Men.
Yeah, well, Charlie Sheen.
Yeah. I guess.
Goddamn winning, sir. But yeah. So there we go. Five was it 5 words? 5 words of movies we like. Eddie cheated on that one.
I did.
So come back next week for day 4 of our 30-day film challenge. I'm trying to pull up what day 4 is going to be. A film with a number in the title. Riveting.
Yes.
Fucking riveting. I mean, we could have just done the movie we're about to cover, and that would have covered it. But I didn't include that one. I didn't even think of that one. But are you ready, Eddie?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready.
3,000 miles to Graceland.
You ready to play?
Always ready to play.
Good.
Here we are at the Riviera Hotel and Casino, and it's International Elvis Week.
It was a night.
The king may have left the building.
I don't know what the big deal is. That porker's been dead for 20 years now.
But 2 guys have come to steal the show.
Hey, man. Try to think of us as the Osmonds, only we don't get along.
One's got his style.
Hey, Elvis, you look great.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
The other has his attitude.
Long time no see.
I'm your partner. Sometimes I actually think you believe you're the king himself. In the flesh.
You stole my car. You stole my money.
You're so paranoid.
Damn it, you almost hit me.
You nuts?
Probably.
What is it with those sideburns? I glued mine on for the job. For you, it's an actual lifestyle.
So I rob a casino.
Because everybody else robs banks. Time to go to work, baby.
They're taking the act to Vegas.
Main booth, scramble security.
Come on! And bringing down the house.
Hey, man. It's always a pleasure taking care of business with you.
This could have been easy.
Wow, you must think I'm some cheap date, huh?
$3,000 miles to Graceland.
Nope.
No, but I do everything else.
Nasty habit.
All right. I think we are going to have wildly different opinions on this one, because you had never seen 3,000 miles to Graceland. And I always look at it like this, for me, is kind of like people, there are people who like revere Showgirls as like their ultimate guilty pleasure movie. This is mine. It hits all the right spots. It checks every box. Let me do the business before we get really into it. Excuse me. 3,000 Miles to Graceland had a release date of February 23rd, 2001. It did not make money. It had a budget of $62 million, came back with 18.7. It was a definite bomb at the box office. Written and directed by Damien Lichtenstein, I'm going to go with.
That makes a lot of sense.
It stars, a cavalcade of talent. I think last week when I was getting ready, I kind of read down most of the cast list, but I'm going to do it again, man, because God, it's so good. Of course, Kurt Russell and Kevin Costner are the leads. Courtney Cox, Christian Slater, Kevin Pollak, David Arquette, John Lovitz, Howie Long, Thomas Hayden Church, Bokeem Woodbine, Ice-T, and a special cameo appearance by Paul fucking Anka.
John Lovitz is in this movie.
John Lovitz.
God.
Eddie, first time watching it, go right ahead.
I am very disappointed in this movie. I wanted to like it, especially after the first half hour of this movie. I was in, and it fell off a cliff for me. Kurt Russell, charming.
Yep.
The cast of characters that are introduced in the beginning of this with former WCW champion David Arquette.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because when this was filming, he was WCW champion. If you remember the episode of Nitro where Courtney Cox and Kurt Russell show up, it was because they were filming this.
That's amazing.
So this was at the height of Arquette-ness.
Yeah. Courtney Cox, there's a lot of this that I'm really interested in. The part of the movie that sets up in the beginning, it feels like it's going to be an Ocean's 11 type movie, right?
It's definitely a tale of two movies. Yeah,
it feels like it's going to be Ocean's 11. It feels like it's going to be Ocean's 11 meets Heat with Elvis.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this sounds amazing. Yeah. And the beginning of it where they they talk to Howie Long and they're like, look, here's the deal. You're going to come in a helicopter at some point. And it's just this is going to come into a really fun time when you're on the middle of the strip having a gunfight of some kind.
You were picturing Con Air.
I was picturing Con Air, and I was like, so that's going to be fun. And then they show up to the casino,
right?
And it's an Elvis convention.
Yep.
And I'm like, first of all, this is amazing. I love this idea that they're going to rob a casino dressed as Elvis when there's an Elvis convention happening. It's cut to a bunch of Elvis impersonators singing to Elvis. And I'm like, yeah, this is exactly the movie I needed 3,000 miles to Graceland to be. This is it. I am locked and loaded. I am locked, loaded, ready to go. The action sequence that follows inside the casino where Kurt Russell's in the elevator and he's trying to gain control of the elevator while the other guys actually rob the casino. And then they're getting out and the security guards are trying to corral them into a specific place so that the police can take care of them. And there's this little cat and mouse game that's happening between them where everybody knows what's going on. And then finally a security guard goes rogue and pulls a gun. So all hell breaks loose. Oh. And it's this is awesome. The gunfight is really cool because it's very much that 2001 action, Triple X. It's that same type of action where, it's fast as opposed to the slow that the Matrix had, so it's sped up and hyper
ultra stylized violence.
Yeah. And so it's this is really cool. So, then I was like, so let me guess. This movie is now them dressed as Elvis, running from the cops, racing stuff. And for some odd reason, we have to get this group of guys to Graceland. I would assume that that's what the movie would be.
The title and the opening would make you think it's basically the Elvis version of Cannonball Run.
Right. It's Heat dressed as Elvis. You know what I mean? We're having a cross-country shootout because I didn't expect the whole thing to take place in Vegas, but I expected this group of people to rob banks the entire time. And I'm like, the dynamic of this group is going to be interesting. It'll be fun to see how Courtney Cox and her kid kind of get involved in this. Right. So I'm interested. And then they get back to the hotel room, and the movie just jumps off a fucking cliff. Everybody, so, somebody had to die in the team. So the black guy dies and they just toss his ass out the helicopter. And it's part one problem is that Kevin Costner feels very, very emotionally struck by the death of that guy, right? Like there's a lot of weight. He tries to save him. He's doing the George Clooney pounding on his chest, and he tries to give him CPR.
Where are those paddles that George Clooney uses?
Yeah, right. And that's exactly what I thought of when he was doing it. And so I was like, oh, he like cared about it. And then it just flipped like that because he murders Christian Slater. Yeah. And it's like, okay, Christian Slater was being kind of a dick about it. Right. And then they're like, all right, we're just going to take care of here, and we're just going to take care of this body. We'll toss him out and everything's going to go according to plan. And then he murders David Arquette and tries to murder Kurt Russell off screen. Right. And it's just like, oh, well, this is stupid. This is dumb. And
see,
then
the problem was they picked the wrong guy to try to save Bokeem Woodbine. It should have been Kurt Russell.
It should have been because
what happened, as you just explained, what happens after the motel, you realize that Kevin Costner all along was planning to kill everybody.
Correct.
Because he's a psychopath. That's what he is. That's his character. So yeah, I think that's one of the major character flaws is they had him, but there's also the and I think the only reason they put him as the one trying to save Bokeem Woodbine is because of his weird little character trait that he was a medic in Vietnam.
Right.
And it's a throwaway line that said while they're reading down his lists of awful deeds he's done. Right. Oh, and he was a Purple-Hearted vet in Vietnam. So that's the only reason they made, so you could be like, oh yeah, and he tried to save that guy. But then when you think, but why?
Why?
He was going to kill him 20 minutes later.
Right, he was going to kill him anyway. I don't know. Well, and it's just like, what was your plan, right? If you were, how were you going to lure everybody out? Were you just going to shoot everybody in the hotel room?
No, I think eventually. Well, I mean, it's weird because it can go both ways. It could be his plan all along was to kill everybody, and that would make sense based off David Arquette, Kurt Russell attempted death scene,
right?
Or it could go the other way because he is legitimately insane. As it's established throughout the course of this movie. I mean, not only does he not pay for gas, he blows a gas station up because he doesn't want to pay for gas. And kills everybody involved. And abducts a woman who kind of went along willingly. I don't know. It's a whole weird sequence, but very cool. Like that's the thing I took away from the the Kevin Costner character. He might be the coolest character. Like everything he does is done very cool. Like he's constantly smoking and flipping with his Zippo lighter. He's got his twin guns that he's playing with. He's always wearing shades. He's got the scorpion belt buckle. He's just the leather coat is so much leather for Nevada, by the way. It looked very hot. But like the leather coat, the leather pants, the snappy one, everything is just ultra fucking cool with this guy. And he's a mass murderer.
Yeah, well, that's the problem that I had with this movie. So you in the movie Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yes.
That movie is quite literally a Frankenstein of 3 movies that were all put together to make one movie. And that's how this movie felt for me at times, because the buddy cop adventure that Courtney Cox, her kid, and Kurt Russell were having was not the same movie that Kevin Costner was having. Because, like...
So I actually have a reason for that. And it's a very specific reason. And it kind of goes back to what we talked about in Judge Dredd last week with star power. It's an amazing thing to read facts like this and to think like, wow, it's got to be oddly cool to be like at that point in your career, because there was 2 edits of this film. One was done by Kurt Russell and his people, and one was done by Kevin Costner and his people.
Okay.
So basically, when the film finished shooting, Kevin Costner and Kurt Russell disagreed with how the film should play. The studio literally let both of them edit their own versions, which is probably why it cost so much money. because Louis, you had two camps taken off and cutting this up. Kurt Russell's edit came back with a more comedy-oriented focus and really kind of played on his character's relationship with Courtney Cox and her kid. Kevin Costner's version came back ultra action.
Yeah.
I think we kind of took both and cobbled it together. The funny thing is, none of this mentions what the director and writer wanted to do. It was basically, it reminded me very much of what happened with Tombstone, where Kurt Russell took over that production too, and was like, okay, he basically fired the director and directed the whole movie himself. And it's like, yeah, we'll give you a director's credit, but I did this.
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's a weird dynamic when you hear stuff like that. And like I said, we talked about it with Judge Dredd, where Stallone wanted it to be a more comedy-based movie, and they literally barred the director from the reshoots.
Yeah, and it just feels like that because it's like, oh, we're having a slapstick comedy, like, you know, oh, we're these two odd couple people that wandered into this money, and now we're trying to figure out what to do with it.
It's a fun little road movie.
Yeah, and then it would all of a sudden cut to Kevin Costner, and like it would be that hyperlapse, like, you know, moving around. There's that scene where he gets pulled over by a sheriff, and they have a duel for some reason. You know, like,
yes.
It's like what am I watching?
But again, and that's kind of why, like, it's one of those movies that, like I said when we started, this definitely is one of my favorite guilty pleasure movies. Because by no stretch of the imagination am I trying to pretend that this is a quality film. But it's like, I'm a massive Kurt Russell fan, one of my favorite actors. I'm a massive Elvis fan. You know, it's got all these little weird side characters, Christian, and the funny thing is, it's all weirdly connected to this weird Elvis universe, especially with Kurt Russell. Just a couple of facts about it. First of all, Kurt Russell, when he was a child actor in the Disney system, did a movie called, what is it called? It Happened at the World's Fair, 1963. Okay. Where he actually appeared on screen with Elvis Presley. And in the movie, he basically, he's a little kid and he runs up at the fair and kicks Elvis in the shin and runs away. In this movie, when he catches the kid robbing his hubcaps, the kid kicks him in the shin, runs away. So the album that the girls in the elevator have Kurt Russell sign is the soundtrack to It Happened at the World's Fair. In 1979, John Carpenter made a made-for-TV Elvis biopic called Elvis. Kurt Russell starred as Elvis. Year later, Kurt Russell makes used cars. In his apartment, there is a bust of Elvis that he walks in and kind of gives the, how you doing, man, and walks away. He is like always been connected with Elvis in this weird way. And it just clicked on all those things. Then all of a sudden you got Christian Slater, who, of course, if you saw True Romance, knows his Elvis connection through that movie. You know, it's a weird thing that it's like, yeah, this is just checking all my happy boxes.
Yeah.
And then of course the Paul Anka cameo, who he's the boss at the casino.
Yes.
The guy that goes, it turned from rat pack to fat pack. He's just shitting all over it. So Paul Anka was a songwriter for, he's well known, but he wrote songs for Frank Sinatra, including My Way, which was one of Elvis's favorite songs to perform live, which is also heard during Kevin Costner's death scene in this movie, where he also dies next to a toilet, which any Elvis fan knows where he died.
Yes.
It's such a dumb movie full of weird, and if you're a weird Elvis fan like I am, it's like, this is just fun. And then Ice-T shows up and hangs from a ceiling and starts shooting machine guns. It's like, what the ass is he doing here?
Yeah, that was weird. It's tough because there wasn't enough Elvis for me. Like, that's probably one of my biggest criticisms of this movie is that, like,
they definitely wanted, when they were selling the movie, they definitely wanted to seem like there was going to be more, including the fucking title of the movie.
Right.
Where now there's a throwaway line, again, just to work the title of the movie into it. Thomas Hayden Church is the one that says it, which makes less sense for me. And I can actually bring it together where that line could have made sense. So it's Thomas Hayden Church and Kevin Pollak playing the two marshals. Basically, fucking Barney fifing it up. I mean, Kevin Pollak just seems like he's having a fun time earning his paycheck. He's fucking around with his lighter the whole time. They seem like they're having a good time. But they're looking at a map and they're like, okay, they robbed the casino here in Vegas. There was the gas station explosion here. There's a dead John Lovitz up in Idaho, and it's 3,000 miles to Graceland. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
They're going to Canada through Vancouver. What the fuck are you talking? Graceland's over there. Now, had Kurt Russell said that line, they could have tied it all back together with the reveal that his boat is named Graceland.
Yeah.
And they were trying to get to his boat. Still wouldn't have been 3,000 miles. Would have been, 500-600 tops. But at least that would have had a more through line. And then there's a whole side plot that, yes, they want you to believe that Kevin Costner and Kurt Russell were illegitimate biological sons of Elvis Presley.
Right. And that's not explored. You know what I mean? And it's just like,
I didn't know this until literally researching this morning. There was 3 animated prequels that the studio released on their website to promote this movie.
Back in 2001.
Yep. They were Flash animations.
Yep, of course.
Released on the thing, released on their website. Kevin Costner, Bokeem Woodbine, and I think David Arquette, and maybe 1 or 2 others. Definitely not Kurt Russell. Voiced the characters in this, and they were hailing it as the first time major studio actors have done this type of animation.
Sure. Yeah.
Now it's commonplace, but back then, I mean, Jesus, it was Flash animation.
Yeah.
You can't find them. I tried. I dug all day looking online. I found a screenshot of Kevin Costner's character in the animation. I cannot find the videos. There was an old Reddit thread that said that they found it, and here was a link, and the links are all dead.
Yeah.
And it was like an 8-year-old Reddit post. But yeah, in that, I guess they explored in one of the 3 episodes that they kind of explained that portion, the illegitimate son portion, a little bit further. But again, that's an animated prequel on a 2001 website.
Yeah, that doesn't exist anymore. And I'm pretty sure if it hasn't happened already, every time I turn on Google on my Mac, it goes, hey, just so you know, Flash isn't going to be supported soon. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's dead. But there was just so much music in this movie because
the soundtrack's wonderful. If you like 2001 music,
if you like 2001 butt rock, like you're just this is the movie for you. But it was just like, because literally the one band missing, or there were a couple of bands, like there should have been a Limp Bizkit song in here somewhere.
There was not a Kid Rock song. I was shocked.
There was close. I felt like we were.
It was Uncle Cracker. You had Uncle Cracker in there.
Uncle Cracker was in here. I thought we were going to get Cowboy at one point. It sounded like we were going to start to get that Kid Rock joint. But, between that and like Evanescence, those were the only things that were missing from this movie. And it's like, hey, I wanted Elvis. This entire movie is called 3,000 Miles to Graceland. And we did the Elvis stuff in the first 20 minutes.
They're in Elvis suits on the cover of the fucking thing. You open it up. They're in Elvis suits.
Yeah. Like, I was promised Elvis. I was promised a bunch of Elvis stuff. And here's the thing. I
wanted 3,000 miles of Elvis.
I wanted some weird, like, again, like you said, I wanted Cannonball Run, but on their way to Graceland. Yep. Like they were just stealing a bunch of shit that needed to, for some odd reason, the last thing that they were going to steal was at Graceland. You know what I mean? Like, because, money's nice. Money's fine. You know what I mean? Like, it's a 2001 movie. So, like, it doesn't need to be more nuanced than that. But it's just like, what would be awesome is if, and I'm not a huge Elvis person, but it's just like, what if you were stealing memorabilia? You know what I mean? Like, what if that was the thing that you were trying to do?
Or just get completely fictitious and say, like, there's some, rarest diamond in the world buried under the rock in Graceland or some shit like that. You know what I mean? But, that's not the movie we got.
Yeah,
and that's not even a movie they tried to make.
No, they didn't try to make a movie about Elvis at all.
I don't care how many actors had their people cut this movie up. That was not the movie they tried to make.
No, there was not enough. Like, there were Elvis like illusions, like the fact that again Kevin Costner's character is maybe one of his illegitimate kids is like a plot point, but it's not a driving point.
It's also a weird last line before you die for Howie Long's character. That one has always stuck out. The amount of times I've watched this, it's like I got when he has 2 lines when he gets shot right before he dies, which again, him like throwing himself in front of the bullets to save Kevin Costner, a little weird, but I don't know. It seemed like they had a relationship. It seemed like they were together in Vietnam because of what he says to Christian Slater in the motel, which even Christian Slater is basically representing the audience, where he's like, and he's done more than you'll ever know, and he's just like, what?
Why?
Like,
how?
What? That means nothing. Give me my 25%.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? But it's like as he's dying, one of his lines is, "Who's going to fly the plane?" Logical, because he was the guy flying the plane. But the second one is, "Was he really your old man?" It's like, all right, the movie's almost over, guy. We don't have time for this.
Yeah, I don't have time to unpack this.
Ice-T is swinging from the ceiling. We don't have time for this.
Yeah, but it's just like the movie would have been better if everybody in that crew was, because I found it, one of the interesting points was when they were talking about how like all of these people came forward to say that they were Elvis Presley's kid, and there was, out of like 75, there were 69 like
there was 73 cases that were dismissed, and then there was 2 that were inconclusive.
Right. So basically, instead of the 2 that were inconclusive, you make it 5 that were inconclusive, and all 5 of those people are this group, right? So now they all believe that they're illegitimate sons of Elvis Presley, you know? And so it's like, oh, that would be an interesting movie. And then you pull the rug out from under us, because then they're, you know, Courtney Cox is also an illegitimate child of Elvis Presley. And you know what I mean?
That
and we
puts a whole incest side story on there that we don't need, I don't think.
Yeah,
between her and the Kurt Russell thing. Yeah.
Well, right. You're 100% right. But
also, I mean, her character like just punches the gas the second she comes on the screen. Holy shit! Like,
oh, she's just annoying from Jump Street. The kid is really forced and annoying.
The kid's forced. I didn't find her as forced as annoying. As probably, I think she did an okay job for the character that she had to work with.
Yeah, she just.
I think a lesser actress probably would have become very forced and annoying. The kid was kind of forced and annoying.
Yeah,
a lot of the time.
Problem with her is that she's definitely playing a female love interest from a 2001 action movie.
Well, see, and it's one of those things I've never really given much thought, but I've also never had to sit down and review the movie. I've just watched it for shits and giggles. It's schlock. Right. It's shit. You know what I mean? So I've never actually dissected these characters. But watching it today, I was like trying to figure out who she is. Who is Sybil Waingro? Sybil with a C.
Right.
And she's clearly like, she's definitely a part-time Vegas stripper, but not like in one of the good clubs. Right. You know, she's got a kid. She definitely scams and grifts every guy that pulls into that motel. Like, right. I don't believe the side story that they tried to allude to where Kevin Costner and her were in on it all together. I think that was just muddling the story for muddling the story's sake.
Well, and that was the worst part about that.
Kurt Russell a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah. And so, because she clearly robs him at all, and that's like her game. It's like she seduces the guys, takes them out for coffee. It's a good start. I like that line. Right. Do you drink coffee? That's a good start. I like that. But then, yeah, she has the kid come in, rob his wallet, and then all of a sudden the kid witnesses this murder. By the way, the kid witnessed a murder.
Oh, yeah, and we
he
never
saw
talked about
Christian
it.
Slater get shot in cold blood.
Yeah.
And immediately his only thought is run back, tell mom, hey, by the way, they have a bag full of money in the ceiling. Let's go get it. And she does.
Yeah, right.
Mother of the year, maybe?
Yeah, of course.
Definite top 3.
Yeah, it's really weird because, again, this movie wants to be smarter than it is, but I think that we're just limited by the conventions of storytelling.
Also, I mean, the fact that they cast so many, like, name supporting actors, but not like big name supporting actors. You know, like you get the Bokeem Woodbines and the David Arquettes and stuff like that. It's not like you're putting their names on the poster, but it's like I know
he was
those
WCW
people.
champion.
He was WCW champion at the time. Okay, you're right. They were losing the ratings war, but he was still on TV every week.
Yeah, but they had the 18 to 45 demo, so they were winning in fifth.
I think we might need just one New Age Insiders pop up just to get over this ratings war thing.
Oh. So here's
because I've been looking at you and the Twitter page, and I'm just like, oh my god, you guys just need to you need to do 1 hour, get it out of your system, and move the fuck on.
the amount of people that have called for that, because between the two of us that have just been like,
you can feel your frustration through Twitter, especially Jason, Chris, whatever the hell we're calling him nowadays. But it's like even reading today, I'm like, oh man, just you need to turn the notifications off. That I did it on Twitter. Like when I was filming that commercial, I turned my notifications. This is just me and Eddie talking at this point. But I turned my notifications off on Twitter, and I never turned them back on. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, it's a wonderful app to have now.
Oh yeah, it's bananas to me that like wrestling as a medium. Like you want to talk about garbage and like lack of storytelling.
Let's do a few minutes.
Like you want to, like I'm gonna tie it to 3,000 Miles to Graceland, right? So 3,000 Miles to Graceland is not a bad movie in the sense of this is an unwatchable piece of garbage. It's a bad movie because at every turn it could potentially be good, right? Like having the race to John Lovitz is a great convention. All right, we can't use
weird
this
sentence.
Yeah, right. I know, it's a very weird sentence.
The race to Lovitz.
The race to John Lovitz. But it's like we have this money. This money is useless unless we go to this point. That's how we take these two characters and bring them together. You know, and so it's like, wow, that's really great. That's how you flip the money. That's how you create conflict. Awesome. But then they get the money back because he calls in that his car is stolen. And it's just like, well, we showed a while ago that Kevin Costner is just going to shoot a cop. So why would he go quietly for a car being stolen? Like that doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. You know, the stuff with trying to save the guy in the helicopter, but then planning to murder everybody anyway.
The Kevin Costner character definitely had a lot of character faults. Like there was a lot of problems with the character because I think it's because of the fact that they were trying to just make a fun little action movie. So he couldn't always be dark. There's also the part of it where, as I said before, everything he does, he's doing it ultra cool. Exactly. And I say that in italicized, basically, with air quotes. It's like he is being so fucking cool. You know, it's like he, the writer, director, whoever created this character, definitely saw everything Tarantino did and be like, oh man, this is gonna be so fucking cool, man. Right. This guy is gonna be the coolest guy ever. But also he's the villain.
Right. And this is the problem that modern day pro wrestling is having, because they just look at everything that is supposed to be cool and they just mimic it, right? And there's no substance behind anything that they do. There's no storytelling, right? And the beats that they're telling, they focus on the wrong thing. Sure. You know what I mean? Like the fact that you're going on TV currently and talking about how, you know, everybody's making fun of people online for Twitter or for Nielsen ratings.
Now, okay, I haven't watched any wrestling since the last pay-per-view. That's kind of what, it's just like, the whole empty arena thing. It
doesn't do it for me.
I didn't like it. I was wasting time. I was skimming through most of it, and I finally just kind of be like, okay, there's better things I can watch at my quarantine time, which is sad.
Right. Yep.
Because this is literally the time where it's like there's like you said earlier, there's nothing else to watch, but I don't want to watch that.
Right.
So what are they doing exactly? They're going on TV and bitching about ratings?
No. So
nobody watches TV anymore.
So
yeah, we get it.
For a little context for an audience that might not totally follow pro wrestling, I'm going to try and catch you up to speed as quickly as possible. WWE and AEW, they're the two top pro wrestling companies right now that have national television deals. There's a bunch of other places that have things online. You can watch Impact on Twitch, bullshit like that, right? But these are the two that have main shows. Right. WWE is predominantly on USA and Fox, and AEW is on TNT. If you have ever watched wrestling before, the main shows for WWE are Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, and then Wednesday night is NXT. Now, for a quick breakdown of that, you need to realize that SmackDown and Raw are their main shows. If you were to remember watching wrestling before, this is where Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, John Cena, Roman Reigns, those are the two shows.
The Dwayne.
The Dwayne, the John Roxon. That's where they.
Side story for a second. If you haven't, please go watch the newest Screen Junkies Honest trailer on the Nicolas Cage movie The Rock. The payoff at the end is wonderful.
Okay, I'm going to have
to continue.
But so those are the main shows for WWE. There is only one show for AEW, and that's on Wednesday nights.
And
they only have it's Wednesday Night Dynamite, and that is their one and only show weekly. Now, WWE also has a show, and they are also run on Wednesday, and it's called NXT. NXT is their minor league system. Right. It is like if the A team is their major league club, I'm going to use the Red Sox just because that's the baseball team around here, and I know their farm system better. The Boston Red Sox is WWE. It's Friday Night SmackDown and Raw. Yep. NXT is their Paw Sox, right? Yep. It's their AAA club. It is the club that they use to feed into the Red Sox. Correct. And AEW comes out every week because back in the 90s, there was this ratings war between two different wrestling promotions, WWE/F and then WCW, and which David Arquette, who was in 3,000 Miles to Graceland, and apparently was current WCW champion when this movie was happening.
Yep. Let that sink in for a minute.
Yeah, they had a ratings war, and the fans online are insufferably stupid because back in the 90s, they didn't have DVR. So you had to watch the thing or you weren't able to see the thing.
I had mine set up so I had 2 VCRs to record, but I'm also a geek.
Right. If you had that level of sophistication that you had multiple VCRs to record multiple things.
And that was before Google Kids. I actually just kind of figured shit out.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's just like it was very hard, and most people you either watched one show or you watched the other, or you watched predominantly one and you channel surfed back and forth to the other. And so ratings meant a lot more than they do now. Now again, we can have
also a hell of a lot more people for on 2 levels of the numbers back then. First of all, the quality of the programming was exponentially better. The creative process, the writing, it was better storytelling as far as pro wrestling. 2, more people, mostly because of DVR and now streaming, more people were watching television. Back then, they were fighting over like 8-9 million people on a Monday night.
Right.
It doesn't happen.
No,
it doesn't happen on some of the biggest shows. Like you get we mentioned The Walking Dead earlier. It's like I'm pretty sure they're struggling to pull 8 million people. Maybe I could be completely wrong with that, but wrestling definitely isn't.
Well, so here's the thing. Yeah, they're definitely not. And so if
they break 2, they're good.
Right. And so you have a group of people online that want to have this basically this nostalgia war, right? Where it's like, oh, these wrestling shows are going head to head and we're going to have this nostalgic romanticized ratings war where it's like, yeah, here's the thing. I don't have to watch either of them live. I can watch them DVR'd. I can watch them online. I can watch them segmented on Twitter or Instagram because the companies themselves are going to break out the matches individually. So if I didn't want to watch this mid-card match between 2 guys I don't care about and I just want to watch the main event, I have the ability to easily access that. So,
or option F, what I've been doing, wait for the monthly pay-per-view because before every match there's a 10-minute build-up package, so I don't feel like I've missed a thing.
Correct.
I actually feel like I've gained, which I have. I've gained an extra 5 hours a month, 5 hours a week back.
Yeah, 100%. And so then
6 if you count NXT.
You have these people arguing over ratings, and they're not impressive ratings. You're talking about the hundreds of thousands, and my big problem is that you're losing out to like the Goldbergs, and not the pro wrestler, but the Goldbergs, the television show that currently is in syndication on Fox or CBS or whatever channel that's on, ABC, I think it is.
Yep.
But it's like they're in reruns. That is not a brand new show, right?
Oh, and, I mean, at this point, everything is.
Yeah, but
there's almost nothing new anymore.
But it's like the Goldbergs are pulling in 8 million viewers, and you pulled in a couple 100,000. Like, you can't thump your chest that you're this ratings juggernaut when you're losing to syndicated shows. And so it's all coming from the AEW camp because they're the newer company. Yeah. And so they're shooting up at WWE being like, we're so great. We're so awesome. WWE sucks. WWE sucks. And it's just like, guys, like, you're not, every single time that you lose the ratings that week, you come up with a billion reasons as to why. And it's like, yeah, if I throw enough filters on things, our podcast could be the number one podcast in the world. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh yeah, 100%. But it's just like,
up
okay.
Here and in here.
Yeah. If we are the number one rated movie review podcast based out of Boston, where two guys do it via Skype from Waltham and the Cape. Like, I guarantee you that we're the number one show that does that.
I mean, you could have just boiled it down to we're the number one podcast with you and I on it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you know what I mean? But it's just like, holy crap. How many filters did I have to go through? Before I ended up having to, get to us? Because we're not, you know what I mean? And if I have to throw that many filters in there.
Well, and it's one of those things. And I think we'll definitely be wrapping up the wrestling talk and getting back to the movie or wrapping that up. But it's one of those things that I mentioned that everything's in reruns except for pro wrestling, basically. I mean, there's a few shows doing some things. I watched that
Jennifer Lopez's World of Dance.
There's that. The one I watched was I think it's on TNT or TBS. It's I think it's like Celebrity Show Off or something like. It's the one where Kevin Smith basically made a sitcom out of his daughter's boyfriend and living in quarantine together.
Yes.
I watched the first episode. His segment was really cute and adorable. And I've since gone on to YouTube and watched the rest of his parts of it.
I've watched it on TikTok.
There you go. Okay, there you go. And but like pro wrestling is actually making weekly content every week still. Despite, you can have your own opinions about safety and all that shit. But the fact that they aren't capitalizing is the most glaring indication of how bad the product has gotten. And this is coming from somebody who literally has pushing 40 years of loyal viewership. I mean, I started watching when I was 4 years old. I'm turning 41 in 2 weeks. Okay. That's a long time to be watching one product. Right. And for me to be like, I'm kind of done. Like I went through the what is it? The new era, or what the fuck it was called in the mid 90s, the new generation, that thing. Like I went through that shit. I went through the weirdness of the mid 2000s when Bischoff had lesbians on. It was all kinds of bonkers shit. Like, and it's like, but it's like I'm still watching it every week. And now it's like literally I don't remember the last episode I watched on DVR, let alone live.
Right. And here, you want another scathing thing about that?
Yeah.
I have, because of the New Age Insiders, a wide variety of friends to acquaintances that are all top title holders, contenders on these shows every week, right? Mm-hmm. I have people that I know that are on these shows, and I can't be bothered to watch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Think about that. You know what I mean? I love them all, and I wish them the best of luck, and support them 100%. But it's like, if I can't watch, I don't watch every week because it's not good.
But we talked earlier at the beginning of the show about hate watching stuff, and it's like, after 30 plus, almost 40 years, I can't chew through this shit anymore, man.
Yeah,
I just can't. But
just like 3,000 Miles to Graceland. It's just like, I want you to be so much better than you are. Mm-hmm. Like, I really wish, I do wonder what the director's cut of this movie would have been, because
Honestly, that's one of the shames about the fact that it bombed at the box office. Like the fact that it made no money means that it got like zero release type of thing for home video. Right. Like they put it on. Like, let me look at this. They put it on DVD, okay, and the special features. Oh, this is stacked. Okay, let me read the special features
stacked.
For you. The special features for the DVD of 3,000 Miles to Graceland are an interactive menu, a theatrical trailer, scene access, English and French dubbing.
Oh my God.
And English and French subtitles. That's listed as special features, not technical specs. Special fucking features. So yeah.
No, thank you.
Realistically, for special features, you got a trailer.
Yeah.
So it's like, but if it made money, you know, even if it made cult money, like it became like a cult movie, which it hasn't either, because Showgirls has gotten a number of wider releases and gotten the special Blu-ray treatments because it has that cult following. You know, if it had that kind of cult following, we could have possibly gotten the Kurt Russell cut, the Kevin Costner cut, and maybe even the director's cut if he has a say in his movie.
If you leaned more into the Elvis stuff,
yeah,
you know, more Elvis music, more, you know, pronounced, I might be his illegitimate kid, like more of that type of stuff.
Very much could have been budgetary because they did throw a couple of Elvis songs in there, and there were a couple of obscure Elvis songs more than anything else. But it's like you look at what was on the soundtrack, and it was very modern when this movie came out.
Right.
So it's almost like maybe it was just we got to a point where. Yeah, we hit $68 million. We can't put any more. We can't give you $2 million to have Love Me Tender on this fucking. We just can't do it.
But I bet you, if there was more Elvis in it, this would have hit cult status because
it would have hit Elvis cult status. Basically, the Elvis people would be like, "Yay, this is our thing."
Right, and well, it could have crossed. You know, I'm not going to write a movie or critique it that hasn't been made, but it's like. If you leaned more into the Elvis stuff and you really kind of went for it on that side, it could be hokey enough. Right. How do you not have Kurt Russell and Kevin Costner have a kung fu fight? You know what I mean? And it doesn't even need to be like a Bruce Lee style kung fu.
No, an Elvis kung fu fight.
But an Elvis kung fu fight.
You want to be really entertained? Go to YouTube and just watch Elvis do karate. The real Elvis do karate on YouTube.
You know what I mean?
You will lose yourself for hours. It is just bonkers. Get high and watch that shit.
But that's the type of thing I'm talking about, where it's just like if the climactic fight was these two idiots getting together, you know, Elvis kung fu fighting, like it's just like, yeah, that's the type of cult nonsense that needs to happen. Also, I'm writing the movie that I want to see in my head. So we'll talk about this after, but we should make my 3,000 Miles to Graceland.
I'm all in, but you know, it's going to be a sticking point with me. I've mentioned it quite a few times and you haven't really commented on it. I'm going to need Ice-T swinging from a ceiling with dueling machine guns.
I know. I know.
Ice-T, gangster rapper and Law and Order SV whatever actor, Ice motherfucking T, hanging from his feet upside down on basically a zip line going through a warehouse, spinning like a top with his arms astretch, holding machine guns, taking out U.S. Marshals. That actually happened.
Yeah, it's bananas because he gets a credit in the beginning of the movie.
He was in the trailer.
Yeah, and it's just like, how are you this pronounced in this movie?
You know how?
You're
He's
Ice-T.
a big goddamn star. Ice-T is box office.
He is.
And I'm saying that because I hope he retweets this episode.
Sure. Here's the thing. He should have been in it more.
Honestly, I think because, so in the closing credits, we get a music video. Yeah. I don't know how.
Also,
I don't know when you punched out.
I hope.
What's that?
Also, a prequel to Captain Ron, I hope.
Yes. So the music video runs the entire length of the credits, which basically looks like they were doing costume tests in front of a green screen because all the actors from the crew are there, but it's also flashing over scenes that we never saw. including a scene where Howie Long and Ice-T are walking from a helicopter, but it's in daytime. It looks like it takes place before the casino robbery. So I feel that there's more Ice-T in this movie.
There should be. Yeah.
I feel like we're missing some Ice-T, and that's why I wish this movie made more money, so that this fucking DVD would have more than interactive menus as a special feature. Give me the Ice-T cut.
Interactive menus. It's so fun.
If I can have a box set this thick of Bruce Lee Kung Fu movies, I can get more than interactive menus on this.
Yeah. And both of them should have Kung Fu in them.
True. Is that 3,000 Miles to Graceland?
That's 3,000 Miles to Graceland.
We didn't discuss it before we started recording. What are we doing next week?
Ooh.
We got a few more weeks of the official action movie quarantine before Arnold August starts.
So I keep meaning to bring this up, and I keep forgetting. But on Amazon Prime is Guns Akimbo.
You know what? You texted me that. I added it. Are we doing it?
Let's do it.
We almost did it when the trailer dropped, but we just couldn't find it, basically.
Right.
Like, we got all excited when the trailer dropped, and they're like, oh, yeah, it's not coming out for a year. I'm like, motherfuckers.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what happened. And now it's on Amazon Prime.
All
so
right.
we should do Guns Akimbo.
Next week, we are getting Guns Akimbo. This is like, we're just checking off the list. Like, I said it last week. I had 3,000 Miles to Graceland, like, a year ago. It was like almost like episode 6. I was like, let's do this movie. And we just, I don't know. I think we went on vacation or something. It was around Christmas time. You went to Disney and back when we could do things outside of our homes.
Yeah, when we could do things.
So it took us 2 years, but we knocked that one off. And it took us a few months, but we're getting Guns Akimbo. Oh, this movie's going to be bonkers.
I can't wait.
It's going to be fucking bonkers. Yeah. It looks so crazy. All right. So thanks for joining us on the 3,000 Miles to Graceland episode of That Movie Show. Follow myself and Eddie on social media at Mike Wendt, at the Eddie McCabe, where not only you can find this show, but you can also find Eddie's Disney Princess, which you got to be wrapping up soon, right?
No, we just crossed. We just crossed the halfway point. Mulan was released today.
Okay.
So we have Tiana with Princess and the Frog.
Yep.
We have Rapunzel with Tangled, Mirda with Brave, Moana.
Mm-hmm.
Moana and
did you say you were doing the Frozen ones? Yeah,
Anna and Elsa. Okay. So I got 5 left.
So you got those, and also Evenings with Eddie, episode 1 dropped this week or last week, and so we have that as well. And of course, hashtag That Movie Show. If you want us to review anything, I mean, we got nothing to do. We got nothing but time. So definitely hit us up. Subscribe on any and all podcasting apps. Tell your friends. Hit up the Facebook. It's facebook.com/thatmovieshowtv. And anything else?
No, that's it. Go watch all the things.
Go watch all things. Bye, everybody.
That's Hooey Valley, Hooey Hollywood, where any office boy or young mechanic can be